Corvette, a name that is synonymous with American performance and that has continued to be Chevrolet's poster child after 7 decades of captivating the car community. The Corvette has often been the showcase for Chevrolet's innovating performance designs to compete with European automakers, which has led them to make some unique prototypes over the years, like the Mako Shark, as well as some of the more popular designs that have become immortalized in automotive history. Designs such as the famous L88 Corvette. These famous Vettes have pushed the envelope of domestic performance and design for decades, and in 1990, Chevrolet continued this king of the hill identity with the release of its all-new C4 Corvette ZR1, America's first budget supercar, and this is its story. But first, a quick message from this video's sponsor, CarVertical. CarVertical is an online vehicle history platform that allows you to pull back the curtain and truly see what the potential car that you might be purchasing is hiding. Let's say, for example, you are looking to purchase a used Volkswagen Touareg to haul the family around this winter. Well, in just seconds, you'll be able to put in the VIN number of a car and get a super detailed report in return that shows you all the things that you would want to know before buying a car, like owner history, real mileage calculations, accident history, service history, and even the overall list of factory options that car came with. So if you're looking to buy a car soon, then go to the link in the description below to save 10% on your first CarVertical vehicle check by using the code RARECARS. And thank you to CarVertical for sponsoring this video. See, from 1963 to 1983, not much had changed in the engineering of the Corvette. The introduction of the C4, though, changed the game. Starting in 1984, the 4th generation of the Corvette was brought to date with a much more modern set of styling and represented a clean break from the earlier Zora Duntov C3 Corvette Stingray style of the 1970s. This new C4 design was created under the control of Chief Corvette designer Dave McClellan, who took over for Duntov in the 70s. McClellan was tasked with creating an entirely new chassis and a car that was to look more aggressive and more modern as to fit the 80s. McClellan modernized many things in the Corvette, including digital gauges, replacing the fiberglass bumpers with more modern plastic ones, and for the first time since 1957, gave the Corvette single headlights over the double headlights that had become common in the 70s. Not to mention these headlights also popped up. The C4 Corvette also brought back the convertible, which had been dormant for 11 long years, along with the targa top instead of a T-top. However, this brand new design brought with it many growing pains that delayed the release of the C4 Corvette itself by nearly 2 years. Probably the biggest delay was caused by the newly designed exotic frame. Originally, the C4 Corvette was supposed to have tried and true T-tops, which, if you don't know, are removable roof panels that are split by a central bar that joins the roofs together. This still provides some structural rigidity while still giving that open air feel, sort of like on a C3 Corvette. But with development of the new C4 well underway, Chevrolet's general manager, Lloyd Roos, made the decision to create a more exotic one-piece removable top, much like the European designs of the 308 Ferrari GTS and the 911 Targa. As you can see, the new C4 Corvette was gunning for the Europeans, and it was only time till the ZR1 did just that. The C4 itself was successfully re-engineered to incorporate the Targa top by adding taller side rails and higher door sills to increase the structural rigidity necessary from the expected performance increases. The early C4s had various 350s under the hood, all making varying power numbers, but most of these cars were well under 300 horsepower, and they subsequently really honestly were not all that fast. But today we're not here to talk about these regular Vettes. We're here to talk about the ZR1. And the ZR1 itself begins in 1986 with the purchase of the Lotus Group by General Motors. Chevrolet then set out to create a true performance-oriented Corvette, the likes of which people had never seen before. In 1986, the Corvette division approached Lotus with an idea to create the world's fastest production car, and they wanted that to be built around the C4 Corvette platform, which they set out to completely overhaul and transform into a monster. They replaced the stock 4-speed manual transmission, which would be too weak for their new power plant, and they replaced it with a 6-speed ZF manual transmission. They also added a taller rear gear of 333-1, which would help the ZR1 reach its desired supercar level speeds of nearly 180 miles an hour. Lotus also helped create an FX3 Bilstein adjustable suspension under the new ZR1 platform, which is something that virtually nothing outside of super high-end supercars like the 959 even came with. And finally, they slightly widened the rear end of the ZR1 to be able to accommodate an 11-inch wide wheel wrapped with a 315/35R17 tire out back, which by 1990s standards was a ridiculous tire. And Chevrolet gave this new performance-oriented Corvette the ZR1 build designation in honor of the 1970 to 1972 Corvette ZR1, which was a high-performance small block machine that was built in the final years of the muscle car era, which comment down below if you'd like to see a separate video on this car. But unlike its predecessor, this new C4 ZR1 would have the engineering might of Lotus and Chevrolet behind it, plus the iconic ZR1 callback to the past. And GM knew they had something special here. They figured with the correct amount of power, this brand new and improved ZR1 platform should be able to run a 0 to 60 time around 4 seconds and reach speeds close to 180. But they still had to find out how to squeeze that much power out of it. Chevrolet began pondering the different design ideas from almost all the other off-the-shelf parts that they had to find an engine to suit the ZR1. And of many ideas, 2 of which stand out that never actually made it into the ZR1. The first of which was using the turbocharged V6 from the GMC Cyclone, or a new twin-turbocharged V8. And while the twin-turbo V8 would have produced over 400 horsepower, they weren't confident that any transmission that they had could harness the torque. With both these options off the table, the head of General Motors, Lloyd Roos, also wanted the car to have a dual overhead cam engine, instead of a standard pushrod V8. This prompted GM's use of the newly acquired Lotus brand to go ahead and design a brand new engine for the ZR1, with the design of their all-new LT5. Given the complexity of the design and mostly being an all-aluminum engine, Chevrolet would actually end up tasking the machine work and assembly of the new LT5 to the performance engine side of Mercury Marine, which was located in Stillwater, Oklahoma. This would be the first and only Corvette engine not built or designed by Chevrolet in-house for a production car. Lotus's LT5 was a 5.7-liter V8, which on paper to a normal car guy would say that sounds just like a normal 350 small block. But the 5.7-liter displacement is about the only thing that the LT5 shares with a normal small block Chevy, as its main ingredients are aluminum, 4 cams, and 32 valves, which made the LT5 nothing short of spectacular, combined with a stout forged rotating assembly mated to its 11-to-1 compression pistons. These design tricks let the LT5 rev all the way up to a glorious 7,200 RPM redline, and made it a cutting-edge design for the time, and even more so, an extremely cutting-edge V8 to be stuffed under the hood of an American car. And the end result was the ultimate American supercar. The C4 ZR1 was able to put out an effective 375 horsepower and 370 foot-pounds of torque for the initial release. And as the years went on, the horsepower got bumped to 405 horsepower and 385 foot-pounds of torque for the 1993 to 1995 models. This prompted the ZR1 to reach its target goal of a 180 mile/hour top speed and let it run a 0 to 60 time of just about 4.5 seconds, which outgunned many of its European competitors. The ZR1s out of the box were easy 12-second cars that could also handle like they were on rails. The ZR1 even forced Car and Driver to revise their 0 to 60 speed time test. See, on paper, the ZR1 could not beat the Porsche 964 911 Turbo in a 0 to 60. However, if you were to compare the two in real life, the 911 actually couldn't match the ZR1 when there was just an ever so slight rolling start. So, a 5 to 60 mile per hour speed time test was included as a real-world assessment to show where the ZR1 shined. The ZR1 is known as a powerful force to be reckoned with on the track and the street, but all of that performance came at a hefty price. The ZR1 option added over 32 grand to the base price of $36,000 for a C4 Corvette. In 1994, the ZR1 was just shy of a $70,000 car. And even though the C4 was expensive for a Corvette, this was still a bargain though, as it was a fraction of the cost that many of its competitors were priced at, like the 911. And where the Corvette historically fell short compared to its European counterparts was the interior quality. And this wasn't really any different for the C4 ZR1. Pretty much every C4 made use of a lot of cheap plastics in the interior, which, while they weren't horrendous, cars like the Porsche 911 were still miles ahead from an interior quality perspective. Following its 5-year production run that concluded in 1995, just a mere 6,922 C4 ZR1s would be produced, and the iconic ZR1 name would be shelved again until the supercharged C6 Corvette ZR1 would be released. Rumors even swirled around that Lotus was in the process of designing a 475 horsepower LT5 for a ZR2 model. However, a perfect storm of high price tag and a failing economy and GM's improvements of their brand new pushrod V8 that would be called the LS motor made it so the ZR2 never happened. Chevy did learn a lot though from Lotus and the LT5, and a lot of the information and stuff that they learned from the production of the LT5 would be utilized to create the LS platform, which would go on to be the workhorse of Chevy's performance and truck vehicles for decades to come. And another possible downfall of the ZR1 is a characteristic almost as old as Chevrolet itself. While being one of the best performance cars of the day, the designers made the choice to keep the ZR1 looking as close to a base model Corvette as possible, seemingly to create a more sleeper look, and they failed at making it super distinct and really giving it a super unique look that would have made it a much more iconic looking car. If the ZR1 was to have received a significantly wider body with a much different front and rear fascia, then it might have gotten more buyers' attention and given them more of a reason to justify the price difference between a base model C4 beyond just its rockstar performance. But even without that, the ZR1 still remains one of the most iconic American cars of the 90s and really ever made. It truly was the first time that the Corvette as a road car truly fought toe-to-toe with its European rivals and had them on their heels. And it laid the groundwork for some of the future late model Corvettes to follow, like the C6, C7, and soon-to-be C8 ZR1. Prices on C4 ZR1s are rapidly climbing today, and I don't anticipate them getting any cheaper. So if you're looking for a super unique classic that will stand the test of time and, to be honest, always be pretty cool, then the C4 ZR1 is absolutely a tremendous value. But that concludes the short story of the Corvette C4 ZR1. Thank you all for watching episode 35 of our Rare Cars documentary series. If you enjoyed this video, we would greatly appreciate it if you could drop a like and also share this video with other enthusiasts. Also, please make sure that you are subscribed to the Rare Cars YouTube channel and smash that notification bell for more documentary style videos just like this on the world's most interesting cars. Until next time, enthusiasts.